Well, November the 21st, the week of Thanksgiving. So Biden had a birthday over the weekend. He's 80 years old. So another 2 years to be 82. If y'all elect to re-elect him, another 4 years, maybe 86 years old. He's barely making it through now. How old is too old to be president? That's a question we have for later. Another question on the political topic also. Trump announced his candidacy to run for president in 2024. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced his disdain for that treatment, for that decision, and signed a special prosecutor to look into matters of documents, January 6th, all of it. He said the public needs to know, it's public interest. And he also said because Trump announced his candidacy, he had to do this move. And then a side note on that, the York said, hey, they're gonna try to find something themselves. What is happening here? Now, that looked just like election tampering to me, but I mean, I'm not an expert. But what do y'all think? And with that said, let's go. Welcome to the Brandon T Show, where we talk about everything that's important to the working man. And we're not politically correct here. So working man means men, women, whoever's out here getting it. We come to deliver the news that's important to y'all. And with that said, this is the Working Man Committee. Joe Biden is 80 years old as of Saturday. Now, 80? How old is too old to be president? How old is too old to be in politics? Elective office. 80 years old. And you see how he does, now he kind of shuffles around, confused at times, and so forth. And it seems like it's not being talked about. And I get it. He's a Democrat. Democrats want that guy in the office. But it seems like there's a bit of an issue. It seems like Jill Biden is helping a lot. A lot. When I say a lot, she's on stage at every appearance almost. There's been reports that she's been in every meeting. And then we also reported a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago, that she gets upset with the staff if they let Joe Biden stay out too long on press conferences. When he's out talking and answering questions, they want to reel him in. And so my thing is this: who is running our country? If Joe Biden had to be this managed by the wife that's helping, that was not elected by anybody, who's actually making decisions? That's what I want to know. So it then turned back into the question is, how old is too old? And let's put this in perspective of age. You got Trump on the other side, right? Now, if Trump was to win in 2024, he would be 80. How does that look? Is he then too old to run for president or be president? I look at it like this. At the way it is now, like look at other countries and so forth, like Canada's and France and other places that their elected leaders are younger. Maybe we should look at it that way. Because we was younger when Obama was in office. And then we dramatically started getting older since then. And so I look at it like this. There should be a cutoff of age. Now I get it. Those super spry old people that could run businesses and so forth at that age. Why we should cut them off. Like I said, but you gotta realize this, that's running a business. That's for those things. But you gotta be able to be young enough to be in tune with the average Americans. So you know what I'm saying, could feel how it is to be 18, 19, 20, early 20s, 30s, 40s, and so forth, as a closer to feel that than as an old 80 person, thinking about your great grands that age, trying to understand what they're doing and how they're feeling. So my opinion on this is that there should be an age cutoff for all politics, so we can cycle through and get more fresher ideas and don't keep the same things. Because like I said, Nancy Pelosi's in her 80s. and she just finished Speaker of the House. What is that? I mean, she can say, well, she's gonna relate to her grandkids or whatever, maybe some younger staffers, but that's different than actually filling them, to fill it and know it at your day. Yeah, so I look at it like this: they should be a cutoff. Let's say retirement age in this country is 65. They should be maybe 10 years above that, 75, and that's it. That's 2 terms. However you get there. If you get elected at 71, you get 1 term. If you below that and get in there, it's great. Like I said, things are changing and so forth, old ways and so forth. Yep. Let's move on to our next story. And this is an interesting story. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States. And let's give you a little history on Merrick Garland and so forth. So, when Obama's last term in office, probably his last year in office, Obama nominated Merrick Garland for Supreme Court. And at that time, the Senate was controlled by the Republicans, and Mitch McConnell was Senate Minority Leader, Senate Majority Leader, I mean. And so he decided that he was not going to bring Merrick Garland for a hearing because it was too close to the election, and let the next president choose him. And then so Trump came in and won against Hillary Clinton that year. And from there, Trump nominated somebody else. Merrick Garland was pushed to the wayside. And then, so when Biden got in there, the powers that be, Biden maybe, I don't know, or somebody else, decided to make Merrick Garland the Attorney General at that time. Yep. And so fast forward 2 years from now, Trump decides to run for president. And so Merrick Garland had a press conference about what he's going to do with Trump running for president. And I'll go to Merrick Garland now, let him tell you himself how he feels. Go.
Described in court filings in the District of Columbia is the investigation into whether any person or entity unlawfully interfered with the transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6, 2021. The second is the ongoing investigation involving classified documents and other presidential records, as well as the possible obstruction of that investigation, referenced and described in court filings in a pending matter in the Southern District of Florida. I'm joined today in 3 cases. It is in the public interest to appoint a special prosecutor to independently manage an investigation and prosecution. Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel.
Yeah, so Merrick Garland has now special counsel Trump. Now, I'm looking at this right here, and I'm trying to understand what's happening. Now, during other past elections, let's say for instance Trump and Hillary, there was a lot of things happening, and they didn't want to make noise or do an election time. They didn't want to sway. The Justice Department with Comey in it didn't want to sway what was going on. But it seems like here, Merrick Garland is trying to sway a candidate. So now, and we know with when you start putting special counsels and looking at certain things, and as far as federal investigations are concerned, is that anything and everything can be obstruction of justice. Yes, any and everything. And so he's probably looking at he can get Trump on something. Yeah. And that's why he's throwing this rock into the lake. But this right here should be, looked at the presidential level. Biden should look over here and says, you cannot do this. during this time. Because what signs does that send to the American people? Now I get it. And some people hate Trump, some people love Trump, and messy middle and so forth. But also you gotta look at it like this. If you can look at the Justice Department, can look at whatever person decides to run for president and target them, say, I don't like you. They don't like, not the American people, not the voters, but the Justice Department finds something. Like I said, they find anything. Obstruction of justice. You could have stood in front of a federal agent and not let him get out the door. Obstruction of justice, because quote unquote he's justice. And so I look at it like this. This is a totally bad look by the Attorney General of the United States. Should have stayed out of this one. For real. And I don't know what message this is going to send, even around the world. Like, look at American politics. We're trying to be the beacon of democracy and justice, and we're doing stuff like this. The world is looking at us crazy. And then let me add this part to it. New York City prosecutor is also trying to find something, I quote something, like I said, on Trump. Because beforehand, the investigation was ended, concluded. Didn't find anything, nothing to charge. And so, do you remember we talked about the Attorney General there was now going to sue Trump for $100 million, $200 million, something crazy like that. Now, I'm like, why? I don't know where that number comes from. I guess if they can't get you, then they're gonna try to get some money out of you. But like I said, looking at that, and then looking at the added note, like, yeah, we're gonna look into them too and see what we can find. Where are we at in this country? I am perplexed here at how we got here. Now, granted, think about it like this. I get it. Like Trump, don't like Trump. That doesn't matter. Put that aside. Let's talk about what's right and wrong, and so forth, and norms and standards on how we in this country, the United States of America, how we look at our politics and so forth. It's supposed to be out of the blue, you know what I'm saying, out of the way. The voters make the decision. But it seems like here, because I guess Trump is such a polarizing figure and so forth, and certain factions did not like the guy at all, that these things are be turned. And think about it. We start going down these roads here where you could prosecute, if you're in office and you can have prosecution happen against your opponents, political rivals. You know, this stuff like we're talking about Venezuela and other one of these third world countries where this type of thing happens. And we're talking about that now in America. It's just like how the president of Russia, the president of China never lose. Nobody runs against them, so forth. Is that where we're gonna head? Is that where we headed to in the States? That we have politicalness tit for tat here, and going after political rivals. I think we really need to, as American people, as the voters, really look at what's happening here. And then two, we can even take it a step further. Let's go back to let's look at the House now. The House is run by Republicans and so forth, and now the Republicans are looking at impeaching Biden, which in the Democrats beforehand was impeaching Trump. See how we just tit for tat this cycle? It's like nothing is getting done. It's all smoke and mirrors now. Let's talk about stuff that doesn't really matter. And so I'm looking at it like this: is that we in turn have to look better at who we elect in these candidates. I get it. We, you know what I'm saying, we don't really talk about it when the election days come up and so forth. We check our boxes, we go about, we hear about the candidates, we look at commercials, so forth. And then 2-3 months later, by Christmas, New Year's, tax time, we don't even know who in office no more. We just know the president. We need to definitely do a better job of that. And so with that said, we're going on to our next story. Next, we're going to talk about Disney. There's a shakeup over at Disney, y'all. It's crazy. So the guy that was in there has been relieved of his duties. Now I guess Disney's one of those companies that there's a lot going on and so forth, so many factions, and the fact that they're having problems, they call back the old CEO Bob Iger. Yes, call back the old guard. So I guess it's not too old to do that position. Yeah, so they fired the other guy. Board let it be known over the weekend that the other guy was out. Bob Iger's back in for a 2-year stint. Hopefully he can right the ship over there because, like I said, direct to consumer, the parks, the studios, the TV shows, all that right there is such influx, and they don't feel like the guy that's in there, that was in there, could do the job. Even though the guy that was in there was a high-ranking official in the company, but hey, I guess they appreciate him for all his work, and I guess he didn't. I guess he wasn't watching enough and wanted to do his own thing. Yeah. But like I said, hopefully Disney get it turned around. Let's get some good movies on Disney Plus. You know what I'm saying? Let's get Mandalorian and all those back going and so forth. Yeah, but we'll see what happens with Disney. Like I said, I know y'all, the Working Man Committee, y'all probably got Disney in your portfolios and also. So we hoping that Disney get it turned around, get the dividend back going and so forth. And hopefully that the old leadership will put it back on the rails, and so the new leadership, when that particular time comes, can do better. Yep. So like I said, we'll be able to watch Disney, like I said, for our portfolio and everything. Yeah. So with our topics tonight, it's been crazy, right? So Garland has got this special prosecutor looking into January 6th and those matters, and Trump. And see that he instruct. Did he instruct? Then he also said, hey, special prosecutor, while you looking at what's happening in D.C., also look at what's happening in Florida and see what the presidential records and so forth. Was anything done improper there? And then two, did he instruct? See, that obstruction of justice, it's easy. To like, if you didn't comply with every syllable, they say, hey, move to the left, and you didn't move to the left, and you just still where you're at. Obstruction. And so we got to the point where Garland is trying to, at all costs, get him somehow, get him not to run. At all costs. And like I said, this should not be happening in this country like this. And so forth. But yeah. But anyway. Biden's too old to run. Trump too extra and so forth. But he's all both old. You know what I'm saying? Biden 80, Trump would be 80 if he got in there. So let's see what other candidates on the Democrat and Republican side that can make this more like it's supposed to be. And with that said, this has been the Recommend Committee, and I'm your host, Brandon T. Peace.